I wanted to ask you first and foremost, like, why now? Why have you come on to talk about it now?
Well, January's always, I think, a difficult month for people who may be teetering on the edge of addiction, and Christmas and New Year is a big drinking time, and I know for a fact that rehabs get very busy after the Christmas period. So I thought it was a good reminder, and to tell people, you know, there is a way out. There's millions of people in this country, millions who have had addictions, who are now in full recovery, lead full lives and productive lives.
There is really nothing like, you know, if there are any people at home that are struggling with alcohol, there is nothing quite like somebody who's had a problem with alcohol telling their story for identification. So how bad did it get for you?
Well, it was terrible. I mean, 18 years ago, I was really a terrible mess. I was a high-functioning alcoholic. You know, I wasn't out on the streets. There's nothing wrong with that. But I was drinking 24 hours a day. Basically, I was a maintenance drinker. I'd reach a certain level, and then it was really hard work to keep myself at that level. At this point, you know, it was vodka. At this point, I was under the impression that it didn't smell vodka, which is absolutely not true. So I used to drink. I drink in the studio when I was working, and because you know what TV's like, there's a lot of time when you're hanging around, and then you do a bit of work, and then you're hanging around again. I used to drink then to try and maintain that level.
But you hid it very well.
Well, I've never come across a stupid addict, to be honest. They are very clever, very manipulative as well, I think it has to be said. You know, my world got a lot smaller. I wouldn't go to places where I couldn't access a drink. And I'd use excuses, I don't want to go there. You know, no, it's not for me. I was being manipulative with my family and my wife at the time, and I said, I don't fancy that, and come up with some mad excuse.
And the problem when you are a maintenance drinker, and I was a maintenance user, so I always like to keep the facade on, and I'd always think that, well, I look okay, and I'm not stealing, and so I'm all right, I'm not as bad as them. And there is always that comparison that you think, well, I'm not as bad as that, so you don't do anything about it.
No, you're pointing the finger all the time. I mean, you know, and normally you try to look immaculate as possible. You have a shower, you're clean, but underneath, you know, it's the swan routine, isn't it? On top, it's all nice, but underneath, ooh.
When did the recovery start?
The recovery started when really I'd had enough. I got to ITV, Granada TV, and it was a moment of sanity, of just a moment of, if I keep this up, I'm going to die. There was no bright lights, or it was just a voice saying to me, and it was my voice saying, "You are going to die."
So where were you? You were at Granada. Were you on the Corrie set?
I was on the way to the Corrie set, and I just knew then if I didn't, and that moment of surrender was bittersweet. Because I'd had a long love affair with alcohol and to a certain extent drugs, but I was married to alcohol. I loved alcohol. Alcohol was my friend. I wouldn't go anywhere without it. And
you know, I've had a couple of friends who have chosen alcohol over life.
Yeah.
I mean, who have died from drinking because they just couldn't.
Well, that's it. It becomes a viable proposition. You know, at one point it was a viable proposition. You know, I was told, you know, you keep this up, you're going to die. And I was thinking, well, all right, and maybe I can get 2 or 3 years out of this.
Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it? Terrible.
That, you know.
Well, Corrie were very good to you.
They were brilliant. They saved my life. I mean, there is no absolute, you know, they absolutely saved my life because they put me straight into the Priory, which lots of people think is some sort of hotel. It's only a hotel if you're not doing it right. You know, it's hard work.
And how hard is it now on a daily basis, this far down the line, to occupy your mind, occupy your thoughts? How aware do you have to be? Well,
you've got to keep yourself safe. I'm doing a play at the moment called The Commitments, which is set in Dublin, and I've been in Dublin. We opened up in Dublin. And I wasn't feeling right, and I couldn't work out what it was. I mean, I know my own body by now when it comes to addiction. And I was holding a pint in the pub on the stage, and it was a prop pint. It was just a glass, but it was wooden Guinness. and I didn't feel right, and I couldn't work out what it was, and I rang a few friends, which is always the answer, by the way. If you're in recovery, you've got to talk about it. You've got to share these feelings.
An addict alone is in bad company.
Absolutely, because your head tells you all sorts of things. And so I rang round, I can't work out what it is. What's the matter with me? I just don't feel right. And it was because I was holding the pint.
Yeah.
Which was just very odd, but it's just one of those things.
What was the solution?
Well, I changed the pint and I got another pint, but I put apple juice in it, and for some reason, that just changed the whole prospects of it. And also, what changes, I knew what it was.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed that, there's more of the same right here. And make sure you subscribe so that you never miss the best moments from this morning.